I say it once, I say it twice, I say it all the time. For those of you who always watch me, you hear me say the word lineage. And what exactly does that mean? And how does it transpire into what I'm about to get into when it comes down to Devin Haney? And one of the fighters who I deemed my favorite fighter in Linares, I'm going to really get into some very, very juicy conversation when it comes down to understanding the importance of how do you take someone from the amateur ranks and make them a professional fighter and then make them an elite fighter, contender, champion, and reigning champion. We are going to really get into lineage. And that's what you saw last night. For those of you who watched the fight, if you didn't watch it last night, maybe you'll get the replay. But when we get into this, you'll really understand why was Devin Haney able to operate at such a level through the championship rounds. When Linares came on, it sort of looked like the same way when you saw Teofimo Lopez against Lomachenko. This is going to be one mind-blowing barn burner for you. But before we get started, I'd like to introduce myself. For those of you who never watch this channel, boy, you are so late to the dance. My name is Eric A. Bradley, and this is where we break the fight world down, round by round. Now back to the topic at hand. The corners of Linares and Devin Haney all played a valiant role in how he operated last night, but I'm going to break down several things that you saw that spoke to the lineage in which Devin Haney is fighting under, which is Floyd Mayweather, because you saw so many of the wrinkles that Floyd Mayweather used, and I'm going to break those down over this segment here. This segment basically will be based upon lineage, skill set, layers. What do you see, and what was it that made Floyd operate at such a level that no one could ever figure out the code? Some came close, but no cigar, right? 50-0. How does that transfer and translate into the next layer in lineage? Floyd was consistently in the ear of Devin Haney, took him under his wing the same way he did Tank. The difference is Haney also has a good team. So when you saw the exquisite skill set, what you looked at is first the ability to fight off of his back foot and his front foot. How do you do that? Because most fighters will never learn how to do both. That's muscle memory. Let's just say we equate that to money. You might get a big check one day and you burn it. It's gone before you know it. It's basically gone before you got it. It's because no one before you has established wealth. So therefore, every dollar you get, you burn it, you spend it quick, because it's called front money. It's the money in the front, but you don't have back money, that money that positions you to be comfortable. That's what Devin Haney is experiencing. He experienced and inherited wealth when it comes down to the boxing knowledge. He was able to rake that information from Floyd Mayweather Jr. and utilize it in his craft now. Now, I consider Devin Haney the professional amateur because he had, prior to this fight, a pure amateur style that really does work in the pros. It's not fan friendly, but it does work when it comes down to walking away with a victory and taking very little damage. That was Floyd Mayweather's business model, because he was passed that model from his father and his uncle. A lot of people don't find that style flattering, okay? Let's just be honest. But do it solidify your bargaining power at the negotiation table. When you are in a position that a Bob Arum or an Oscar De La Hoya or an Eddie Hearn sitting at the table, negotiating your contract, one thing you can always say is, I'm undefeated. Now, like I said, you have to take the role and do the other things like Floyd Mayweather did and become the bad guy, because the bad guy always has the people that want to see him lose, so they pay to see him lose. That's how you fill the seats. You create enemies. Devin Haney, fighting off the back foot, learning how to bend his knees and walk in, and we call that scooping. And he was able to close the gap after throwing the jab. Boom, boom, close the distance so Linares couldn't work. He came in and under the threshold in where Linares wanted to work. He closed in and scooped. And if you watch Floyd Mayweather against Canelo, he did that several times. Came in, went to the body. I think it may have been the 5th round. It was a great demonstration of that. But the lineage of that is Devin Haney was able to study Floyd do those things, those little wrinkles, and add those to his game. So that took away some of the skill set of what Linares is good at. And Linares is a beast at mid-range. Now you look at this and you say, how does Haney control so much of that fight? It's that wealth, that old money, that back money, not that front money. It's that money that Floyd Mayweather created, that wealth of knowledge, that lineage. And then you saw him working off of the back foot, closing the gap, working the body, stabbing to the solar plexus, uppercuts. Whoosh, all of those shots, man, were specials by Floyd. But the thing about it is, I like about Haney displaying those techniques is that he did it more often than Floyd did, because his body is youthful and he doesn't have to worry about the injuries like Floyd did. And the reference to Floyd is basically the abilities that Devin Haney has acquired, because if he didn't have Floyd's techniques that he was using, he wouldn't have gotten those from anywhere else. Now you look at guys like Andre Ward, who also have a very, very unique skill set, and it's advantageous that you have someone guiding you. And Linares is just an absolute, he was one of my favorites of all time, because he's the purest boxer. There's not a lot of fighters that can get in the ring against Linares. And needless to say, the fact that he was in the ring with Lomachenko and was up on the scorecards in the 10th round when he got knocked out or stopped tells you everything about his skill set. Now, he wasn't boxing around Lomachenko. He put Lomachenko on the canvas. And at the same time, he brought the smoke when it came down to his skill set. So I had chosen him for the upset against the Lomachenko fight, in the Lomachenko fight. But Devin Haney, you guys got to realize this. You got to be careful what you ask for with this kid, because he's listening. Now, when it comes to the bettors, if you're out there and you betting on this fight and you're trying to match this fight up, let me take it back. When Lopez fought Lomachenko, the difference in that fight was basically Lomachenko didn't have the size advantage, so he had to figure out how to overcome that, right? Well, Devin Haney will have the size, so he will more than likely be up on the scorecards early, so it will give him the ability to fight off of his back foot and minimize Lopez's opportunities late in the fight. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that that size does matter when the elite or elite match head up, all right? So be sure that you keep that front and center before you go out there throwing your money on the table. The abilities that this kid operates in is something that you can't overlook. So keep it in mind, because you can't put X's and X's against O's and O's. Both of those guys fought great fighters. So that's kind of what you'll see when you see a guy like Devin Haney. He's capable. He has the mental wherewithal to overcome those championship rounds. The difference is his power, which is what I'm going to speak to now, and then we're closing this out because it's uber important that you understand these things. And if you haven't, I want you to take a look at this video, and it's called 5 Layers of Defense. Click that link because it's going to show you these type of things that you have to have and must have going into the championship rounds. The skill set, the defensive prowess is called 5 Layers of Defense. When you operate at this level, when you're talking about going against the gods of old, that lineage, what you better keep in mind, my friend, is that you must soon age that body. And what does that mean? It has to become like wine. When you want to get to that level, that power in which settles into your body, Devin Haney, his body is still youthful and vibrant, and it's developing. But one thing that's missing right now is his punching power, that professional punching power. He changed his style. He's maximized the craft, but he lacks that sit down on your punch power that most elite fighters carry once they get to this level of a professional fighter, prize fighter. And that happens over time. The same way with Canelo, he eventually developed that dexterity in his punches, and it started to really show on every fighter that he's fought. And that happens over time. That's something you can't inherit. It has to come with time. So continue to watch out for this kid because he showed all of the things that are necessary to operate at the highest level. That's all I got for right now. I hope this breakdown gave you clarity and insight. And if you have questions, make sure you leave them in the comment box, and make sure you support the channel by liking. That lets us know, and it lets the internet know that what you saw is what you like, and that's what we will continue to produce for you. So until next time, continue blessings at Godspeed, and we're out. Peace.